Chair, can you hear me? Omololu Michael Fagbadebo. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning. Good afternoon.
Yes.
How are you? Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so you are chairing this session,
Yes, I know.
and I think
I'm ready now. It's start by 12 by 1. Okay, by 12:45 Nigerian
yes, I
time.
know by 12:45. I just want you to get 7. So some of the presenters are
Okay.
in-house here,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
will be
No
sharing
problem.
your slides as soon as it comes.
Okay, so I'm the only online.
Well, for now, you
Is
are the only one
it seems as
online.
if I'm the only online person here?
Yes, for now, you are the only one online.
Okay. Okay.
Good morning, Ade Olatoyosi Ajala. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Ade Olatoyosi Ajala.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we need to start this session right now. Yeah, good afternoon. We have 2, 3, 4. We have 4 papers for this session, and which means we are going to have enough time for engagement today. I want to know Adeola Toyosi Ajala. Adeola Toyosi Ajala, are you there?
I'm representing for her. She network is not
Or anybody presenting for her?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Ayomide Makembe.
Yes, sir.
Ayomide Makembe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Adetola Oye. Adetola Oye, are you there? Okay, without wasting much of our time, while others will be joining as we go, let me call on Mr. Peter Oluwasemi to present the paper on the impact of migration on language development among African families in the diaspora. Mr. Oluwasemi, you have the floor. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I said my name is Laolu Peter Oluwasemi, and the paper is co-written with Dr. Adeola Ajala, King's University of Durham. So I will be presenting on the impact of migration on language development, a linguistic study of child language acquisition among African families in diaspora. So the study basically explored how migration affects language development of African children living in the diaspora between the age of 4 and 12, especially most of the African migrants of Nigerian origin. The current wave of migration in Africa or Nigeria, to be specific, to seek better opportunity, discover that most of the families, they go with their children, and most of these communities are multicultural and multilingual in nature. So the setting often results in linguistic hybridity, as well as children exposed to both their local language, for instance, Yoruba, and the dominant language of the host country. So the research is situated within the field of linguistic and migration study, which focus on how children acquire language, particularly under sociocultural influence, such as migration. Next slide. So, and despite the growing interest in bilingualism and migration, our findings shows that there's limited empirical study on how African diaspora children, especially of Nigerian origin, acquired and used language in a multilingual environment. When we check, the only work we could find of recent is the one written by Nwekwere, Madike, and Amy, which was written in 2017. So many of these children experience language shifts, a gradual abandonment of their heritage language in favor of the dominant language, especially English language, as far as our study is concerned. So this basically raises a concern about the cultural identity loss, intergenerational communication gap, and language attrition. And additionally, the language of the digital media and online platform on children language development in diasporic context remain underexplored. So we have basically two objectives. The first one is to identify the language shifts among the diasporan children, especially of Nigerian origin. And the second one is to examine the linguistic pattern, their language use in everyday conversation. The work is situated in two major theoretical frameworks. We use Fishman 1968 language contact theory, and which focus on how different languages coexist in multilingual society and the condition that actually lead to language maintenance or shift. And the concept of dominant use is crucial. So children use heritage language at home and dominant language in public or school settings. And the second one is above 1972 sociolinguistic variation and theory, which emphasizes how language use very systematically with social variation like age, class, and context. So the idea helps to explain how children modify their speech based on social setting and interlocutors, revealing the roles of peer group in schooling and language change. So we did brief literature review as rejected because of time. So the methodology we use the digital ethnography, which basically is we sample some video clips on social media, especially Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which shows the natural conversation among the African children. We just observe them in the natural setting and not in any form of conditional setting. And like I said in the beginning, that the children are between the age of 4 and 12, especially in North America and Europe. And then we use case studies of some of our cousins abroad through phone conversation. We're able to, the communication exchange, some of them were recorded and then transcribed in verbatim. So this is the sample of the demographic profile of the children that were observed.
Proceed to the next stage until we get reviewers for all and then colleagues are not even those from abroad. I've tried to remind them again. They should do it. Yeah. But let's see. As I
So
say.
there was a
All right,
technical
sir.
issue then. There was a technical issue. The
Yeah,
network seems fluctuating.
yes,
We are back now.
yes. Has it been
Well,
fixed? Has it been
yeah,
fixed now?
it's been fixed. It's been fixed.
Okay. So I'm almost running out of time.
And it's almost done anyway.
So the children in diaspora
Okay.
develop hybrid linguistic identity, blending phonology, vocabulary, and syntax from both their heritage and host language as observed in our analysis. The identity are not fixed but evolve with social and linguistic exposure. We notice code switching, hybrid accents, which are not signs of linguistic incompetence but pragmatic tool for managing multiple cultural words. And furthermore, language loss in heritage tongue can lead to cultural disconnection and weaken familiar ties, especially when intergenerational communication becomes difficult. So in conclusion, believe that migration significantly shaped language acquisition among African children in diaspora, and while bilingualism offers cognitive and cultural benefits, the dominance of English or the other host country language can lead to language shift, accent hybridization, and loss of cultural linguistic depth. So children display resilience and creativity in negotiating their linguistic identity, but without deliberate effort, support, their heritage language will diminish. So the findings showed the need for policy and practice that promote inclusive, bilingual, and culturally grounded education. So we recommend the following as promoting addictive language. From the beginning of this conference, I attended some panels which also emphasize the use of mother tongue, especially in the home setting, which is very primary and the place of first contact with the children. Establishing heritage language program, especially for those in the diaspora, is very, very important. And this can be done especially by the diaspora network. We have so many of them abroad. We can facilitate that. Then there should be training teachers in culturally responsive pedagogy and support linguistic diversity and dispel language bias, leveraging digital media, which is very, very important. And some people are actually doing this now, where we have science in Yoruba, mathematics in Yoruba, biology in Yoruba, and so on and so forth, even chemistry in Yoruba. They're encouraging positive language attitude, institutionalizing inclusive language policy to support the mother tongues, especially for those abroad, and supporting longitudinal research, attract language development across generation, and inform future policy and practice. So on the final notes, believe that in an increasing globalized world, preservation of linguistic diversity among African diaspora children is not just a cultural duty, but a pathway to building resilient, multilingual, and identity-rich global citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olon. Asami for the presentation. I hope colleagues will be having their questions ready for Mr. Oluwasami when it's time for question time. Thank you so much for the presentation. Let me move on to the second presenter now. Ayomide Makembe.
Yes, sir.
Ayomide Makembe is presenting on identity crisis and the dynamic of belonging in diasporic young adult fiction, a critique of Safia El-Hilou's Home is Not a Country.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Makembe Ayomide, and a recent graduate from Adekunle Adashi University. So I'll be talking on the topic identity crisis and the dynamics of belonging in diasporic young adult fiction, a critique of Safia El-Hilou's Home is Not a Country. So, identity crisis and the dynamics of belonging are inextricably linked to diasporic discourses and have been explored in diasporic literary works. So these ideas are strongly associated with real-life experiences of those who have left their home countries or were born into the diasporic communities, finding it difficult to fit in with their new social and cultural environment. So we have various African literary writers from those of adults. So it is important that it's important for us to know that this distinction is essential. But we have earlier works of diasporic fiction that lay the groundwork for this complex exploration. We have works like Samuel Servon's Lonely Londoners, which was published in 1956. We have Amitan's The Joy Love Club. We also have which was published in 1989. So they're also contemporary diasporic discourses, such as Chimamanda Adichie's Americana, Uchi Emichita's The New Tribe, and many others. So moving on to the gap in knowledge, we see that diasporic functions has long been analyzed in terms of migration, exile, cultural dislocation, and identity crisis. But most early studies focus on adult migrants. So this is largely due to the long-standing academic hierarchies that prioritize adult literature as more serious, complex, and worthy of critical attention. As a result, stories written for young adults are dismissed as lightweight or didactic. So we have various literary scholars frequently overlook adolescent writing because it deals with issues of identity in a more accessible manner. Yet, this does not reduce the ability to influence ideological perspective. So let's look at the distinctiveness of diasporic young adult fiction. So we see that young adults are in a critical phase of identity formation, and this is drawn from Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory, where he emphasized that adolescence is marked by the conflict of identity versus role confusion. And we can also see that young adults face more intense but more dynamic experience during diaspora. And we see that most young adults find solace in vivid imaginations because they're actually in the form of in-betweeners. They are neither here nor there because they actually find it hard to relate with their home country and they're finding it hard to fit into their host countries. So we'll be considering a primary text which is being written by Safia El-Hilou and is titled Home is Not a Country. We see that Home is Not a Country explores the concept of identity crisis and the dynamics of belonging through the lens of Nima, the protagonist. So it chronicles a journey from self-discovery and challenges while navigating a sense of belonging to our cultural roots. So it also shows how diasporic young adults experience this longing and the search for a place of refuge. So a close reading of our literary work shows that it focuses mainly on psychological and physical experiences of the protagonist, which is a young adult, and how these experiences influence our quest for identity. So a close reading of this literary work shows that it focuses mainly on the psychological and physical experiences of the protagonist. So our methodology is the research is the literary analysis that examine the concept of identity crisis and the dynamics of belonging in Safia El-Hilou's Home is Not a Country. The research adopts a qualitative approach for an in-depth understanding, and it is focused on employing Sigmund Freud's theory of personality, and it allows a deep exploration of the character's emotions, experiences, and relationship while experiencing displacement and longing for home. Lastly, it's usually secondary sources such as books, journals, articles, library materials, and internet sources. So before we go into the analysis, I'll just give us a brief understanding of identity and identity crisis. Identity occurs during adolescence, and that's between the age of 12 to 18. So quickly, let's look at belonging. Belonging is a concept that refers to the intrinsic human needs to be connected and included within a social group, community, and environment. So it's the sense of belonging that can lead to feelings of security, acceptance, and support. So we have various scholars that actually drop their opinion on the concept of belonging. We have from Roy Burmester, where he said a lack of belongingness should constitute severe deprivation and cause a variety of ill effects. We can also see that during his hypothesis, he said human beings have a passive drive to form and maintain at least a minimum quantity of lasting positive and significant interpersonal relationship. That means just having a contact with someone is not enough. You have to create a lasting relationship with people that are built on trust and friendship. So quickly, let's look at diasporic young adult fiction. And there are two major concepts there. We have diaspora and we have young adult fiction. Just like how we know diaspora is it says that a segment of people living outside their homeland. But traditionally, the term diaspora is explicitly used to describe the dispersion of Jewish communities worldwide. On the other hand, young adult literature, on the other hand, refers to written works for young people. So this analysis will be using Safia Eilo's Home is Not a Country, and it is a novel in verse. That is, it's a mixture of poetry and prose. So as readers, we are drawn to literature that captures the complexity of human experiences. So that's what this story does. It captures the experiences of the protagonist, Nima, which can be seen as which can be related to the young adults in diaspora. So Home is Not a Country is an impressive exploration of the diasporic experiences of adolescents. It is a blending of poetry and prose that capture the complexities, challenges, and adventures of young adults. So Home is Not a Country is a novel in verse, like I said, is an hybrid form of novel by Safia Eilo, a Sudanese-American writer. And it is a compelling narrative that reflects some of the characteristics of diasporic individuals of young adults. So let's look at the diasporic experiences of young adults in Safia Eilo's Home is Not a Country. The first experience I noted that was that Nima's experiences, that's the protagonist, Nima's experiences with identity crisis are seen in her struggle with her name, which reflects the complexities of cultural identity faced by many migrants in Western societies. Like if you can see an excerpt from the text, it says Nima, where it is Nima. I can't actually pronounce that, it's an Arabic pronunciation. So, but she said it's been mispronounced at school to sound like the middle of the word animal, but it is wrong, or it is stretched to a whining Nima. No letter in English for the snarly sound that centers my name in its little grow. It has like, I think it's more like a vowel sound. So Nima meaning grace. But because of the misinterpretation and the mispronunciation of her name, it affected her personality, self-identity, and her sense of identity, which can be seen in a low self-esteem of awareness, in her coordination and lack of confidence. And there are some places in the text where she'll be like, because of that, she's actually crashing on the incense holder, and sometimes the tray goes crashing on the tile floor and sometimes falling because of that. So we also have another experience that Nima yearns for a sense of belonging and connection to our Sudanese heritage, because they actually moved from Sudan to America. So she's a Sudanese American. So she desires to understand and embrace her cultural roots while adapting to American cultural environment. So she's more like in a form of in-betweenness. She's between America and Sudan. She can't actually relate with Sudan, and she's trying it very hard to fit into the American society. So our efforts to bridge this gap between the past and the present portray a quest of self-discovery and a sense of belonging. So another instances of the diasporic experiences of Nima as she grapples with the issue of identity and a sense of belonging is racial and ethnic prejudice. So we can see that from the text that Nima experiences prejudice and discrimination, which started from an early stage. She was subjected to derogatory remarks and stereotyping. And this was seen when she and her mother were trying to board in the plane. And the pilots, I think probably the pilot or the security guards were like, we are not allowing Mohammed, quote and unquote, into the plane. So there's this form of racial and ethnic prejudice. So another challenging experience of Nima while struggling with her identity and a sense of belonging in the novel is a struggle to maintain fluency in her native language while navigating a dual cultural identity. Because she was actually born in Sudan, but she went to America in a very tender age. So she could not actually pronounce some words in her culture, in her native dialect very well. And she's still finding it very hard to pronounce some American, some English words. So she's actually experiencing this challenge of fluency, both in her native language and in the host language. Because even sometimes when she goes for Arabic classes, their teacher will also be like giving them a form of she's always like this dissatisfaction with the way they pronounce some of those words. So we also see the theme of alienation, humiliation, and isolation, and this rejection makes her feel insignificant. This rejection makes her feel insignificant. So even within our community or social group, she still feels alienated and disconnected. And she said, even so, yeah, among my so-called people, I did not fit. That means she could not actually fit into the host community, even with her own Sudanese community.
You have 2 more minutes.
She was finding, all right, sir. She find it hard to fit into that. We also have theme of imagination and fantasy, which play a significant role in navigating the complexities of her identity and imagination. So because she couldn't really fit into the host country and into her own, she actually dwell on her own imaginations and her fantasies, which led to a creation of an alternate self. Quickly, let's go to the effect of diasporic experiences on young adults. The first one is isolation and loneliness. The second one is the internalization of stereotypes and discriminatory attitude, leading to a diminishing sense of self-worth and confidence. So in conclusion, I can see that prominent writers chose to focus on on adult character. So their theme might intersect with young adults, but it's not centered on them. So diasporic writers place less emphasis on the specific experiences of young adults because they explore the diasporic experiences of young adults in diverse and multifaceted way. So this study has explored the concept of identity crisis and the dynamics of belonging in Safia Elo's Home is Not a Country, examining the protagonist's struggle and experiences in a hybrid society, which provide an insight into their unique challenges and experiences and how they affect their state of mind, emotions, actions, and relationship with individuals. And we can see that exploring diasporic experiences reveals that although immigrants scattered abroad share the same experiences and sensibilities, they still have a unique and personal experience that distinguish them. So this shows that the experiences of young adults are significant factors that distinguish their experiences from adults. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Makembe. The next person is James Okolie Osemene. He's presenting on countering the smuggling of migrants in West Africa, the role of law enforcement agencies in Nigeria. Okolie Osemene, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, the audience online. I'm Dr. James Okolie Osemene. I'm a lecturer in the Department of International Relations, Admiralty University of Nigeria, Delta State. The title of my presentation is Countering Smuggling of Migrants in West Africa, the role of law enforcement agencies in Nigeria. We are looking at the paper looks at the activities of migrants and how such activities undermine law enforcement. And we all know that globally, border governance is the major need across the world. And this problem affects not just West Africa, but every country that shares border with others. And we live in a world of borders.
It's not strong enough.
Okay, thank you. It's better standing here. Yeah, thank you. So we live in a world of borders where
You have to be careful.
Yeah.
Or advise not to worry.
We live in a world of borders where different countries are affected by the activities of but not just migrants, but criminal networks. And in West Africa, we've seen a situation where Nigeria, being one of the most populous countries in Africa, continues to be affected by the activity of small. One of the issues that we need to consider is that we have a problem of economic hardship. We have conflicts, we have terrorism and other transnational threats that have made it difficult for different countries across the sub-region to pretend that there's no problem. And so far, we've seen how countries that saw this border problem as problems of few countries also became the victim of the negligence. So in Nigeria, we have different law enforcement agencies that have this task to safeguard our national boundaries, the boundaries we share with different countries, starting from Cameroon to Chad, Niger Republic, Benin Republic, and so on. So the major point that this paper identified is that there are a lot of challenges, but out of all the challenges plaguing the border security governance, corruption stands out as a major threat. So of course, we can mention the problem of the interagency coordination, but that is not the major problem because Nigeria has more than 2,000 borderless borders. That is, these are borders you can call borders, but they are not manned. And when a border is not manned, there is a problem. It means anything can happen. And there's this problem of risk occasioned by regional instability, the spillover effect of insecurity in other countries, like where we have three border areas in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic. That is three countries having a common location that crisscross their borders. All these problems, insecurity occurring in such locations, continue to affect not just those countries, but also Nigeria. That is why you can feel the impact of insecurity affecting our borders. And in terms of methodology, the paper adopted the use of observation and secondary sources. And when you pass through West African borders, a major observation is this. Most West African borders, yes, they are governed by protocols, ECOWAS protocol, which talks about free movement. But we need to mention it here that free movement doesn't mean that you just come and pass. There's also the issue of problem of identification and documentation. Because many security agencies, not just immigration, their job is to identify and document whoever is crossing. But the major challenge in West Africa is that there are smugglers who wish to cross both legal and illegal borders through fraudulent means and fail being documented. This is the major point that this paper is making. And the paper is guided by the following research questions. What activities of migrants undermine border security governance effort in West Africa? How do security agencies handle smugglers and victims of smuggling? Why are border regions in West Africa associated with security threats? Lastly, to what extent do border controls address human smuggling challenges? The paper is guided by a framework that combines three theories: routine activity theory, institutional theory, and regional security complex theory, which all talk about the existence of smuggling as a network, the offenders, and the people that benefit from them, as well as the synergy by the law enforcement agencies, and also the regional collaboration in West Africa. Because West Africa is focusing on not just economic cooperation, but the issue of security is now dominating the focus of the sub-region because of the activities of illegal groups. So let's look at quickly the impact of migrant activities on border governance. Yes, I identified a lot of issues concerning the impact of the activities of illegal migrants, including how they bypass legal channels, the development of informal networks, deterioration of law enforcement confidence, as well as over extension of law enforcement. In West Africa, I observed that when you pass through these borders, there are always individuals that are determined from the onset as they are departing from their countries of origin to other or destination countries to undermine security governance efforts at the borders. And this is a major threat because when they get to such borders, if they choose to pass through the legal borders, the recognized borders, they will undermine the network through corruption. And also, if they take the illegal routes, they forcefully do that through the use of arms and other means through the communities that host those locations. And there's also the issue of identity renegotiation through smuggling. Most smugglers engage in what we call identity renegotiation. That is, somebody, for example, that is from Nigeria is going to Benin Republic or Togo or Niger. He gets there, automatically he becomes, through forged documents, somebody that is from any of the communities. And this is a challenge to law enforcement at the border areas. And this also motivates the issue of emergence of hybrid identities, where migrants are adopting identities to navigate those localities. And we also have the problem of informality at the community regions in those frontiers. There are people who engage in identity changes and the locals assist them, because when we talk about people who are from the Republic, for example, not all of them who engage in this issue of smuggling are from countries of origin like Nigeria, where we have a lot of borders with other countries. We see people from neighboring countries assisting in the business. The reason is because they are benefiting directly or indirectly, because a lot of informality at the borders leads to a situation where you see people who are not benefiting directly, you see them supporting the business because of some of the advantages that they may gain from that. And we also talk about the handling of smugglers and victims. There are two issues here. Yes, law enforcement agencies are given the responsibility, they are saddled with the responsibility of arresting offenders or suspects, but they don't just do arrest. Before they arrest, the first task they have is to patrol and survey the border areas. But one of the threats they have is that they don't really have enough facilities or equipment that will aid their activities. You see them working at the expense of, that is, working in a situation where they are threatened by the presence of smugglers, because smugglers seem to be more prepared than them. So how do we talk about the victims? Yes. Well, the first task law enforcement agencies look at is the problem of documentation, where they apprehend victims, identifying them, where they are coming from and where they are going. But the problem is some of these victims can not always be identified easily, because some of them don't even know the implication of their actions. And coming from looking at where they are coming from, you see a situation where they are not able to divulge the secrets to enable the law enforcement agencies apprehend the perpetrators. And that is why they prioritize rehabilitation programs for them, and also to ensure that they are able to assist
2 more
them
minutes.
long run.
You have 2 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. And let me conclude. There are significant challenges that this paper has identified at the border regions affecting Nigeria. These are mainly corruption, transnational threats like terrorism, and the activities of criminal networks. And the paper is asking question: what are the actions that we require to counter smuggling and achieve the goal of securing our borders from Nigeria and other countries in Africa? Well, the main task here is to talk about regional cooperation. We cannot do without that, no matter the insecurities and the misunderstanding among the ECOWAS member states. We cannot do without this sustained collaboration. And the paper is recommending that if the governments in West Africa are able to continue to engage with each other through holistic approach, Nigeria and other West African countries will remain a safer place rather than a place that will be avoided by people that are visiting from other parts of the world. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Let me go to the last presenters, Aditola Oye. Twist in the attitude of Lagos residents of diverse language, ethnic groups in asserting identity and belonging. Aditola Oye, it's your turn.
Aditola, come closer. Yeah, it's like, I don't think. Yeah, it's like. Where is that? I don't want to.
And go ahead.
You can stand on trees where they are seeing you. How many? 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and gentlemen. I am Aditola Oye from the Department of Foreign Language. The topic of my presentation, sorry, I don't have it on the flash because they used my laptop. My topic is twist in the attitude of Lagos residents of diverse languages and ethnic groups in attacking identity and belonging. The paper dwells on a twist in the attitude of especially the non-Yoruba residing in Lagos in recent times. It has been noticed, especially since the last presidential election, general election 2023, that there's a change of attitude. But here, I'm approaching this research through social-linguistic view, trying to portray the role of language in asserting belonging in the society. And it's based on the theory of William Labov, who sees language as a societal thing, who tries to look at language through its effect in the society, and also through ethno-linguistic theory. All this one looks at language in relation to culture in a particular society. Let me quickly go through the introduction. We are familiar with the saying, a popular saying during the last election, being the pronouncement of a gubernatorial candidate of Labour Party, who says, "I don't think in Yoruba." That statement was pronounced by Gbadebo Rose, driver of Labour Party, during the television interview, which he granted to channels on 9th March 2023. Actually, I think he wanted to whip up pity or whatever through that. Unfortunately, it was as if he shot himself in the leg, because Nigeria is a society where we place a lot of importance on language, whether in politics, in social activities, and in all that. So it was like a case of the Yoruba proverb, which says, anything one person gets people para. So from that, so other political party opposition were able to use that against him. Now, how can you come and govern a state and say you don't even dream in Yoruba language? I want to govern the state. So immediately they were able to catch in on that, and they started using that to campaign against
this candidate of Labour Party. So here, of course, we have in my literature review, I have run a word of in his introduction to sociolinguistics, he viewed the relationship between language and society in two ways. First, the effects of the setup of linguistic items such as sound, word, grammatical structure on a society. That's actually the approach of Noam Chomsky, the popular linguist theory. On the other hand, there's also the consideration of the relationship of society with concepts such as identity, power, class, status, accommodation, and so on. That's what this paper is actually based on. So then I consider the role of Yoruba language and Lagos politics. Yoruba language, which has about 45 million speakers across, running from Nigeria to Benin, and also Yoruba population could be found in parts of Cuba and Brazil. It's a language that has penetrated into all the four corners of the world through literary works and other books, and through books, film industry, newspapers, radio station, and of course, the present day social media. We have a lot of production, Yoruba content and production featuring Yoruba. The methodology used here, of course, is qualitative through interviews. So interviews were granted to focus groups and to individuals. Interviews were granted to a number of people numbering 20. That's the limitation. It could have gone beyond that. And also, another limitation here is that it couldn't cover more than 2 major local governments of Lagos State. That Ojo local government and Alimosho, if not for time limit, would have covered up to like 5 local governments. But the study ensured that the local government covered are those that have like Ojo and Alimosho. They are the ones that have a lot of diverse ethnic groups, and especially settlers, like settlers, Igbos, running from Ojo, Alaba to Alaba Rago. Alaba Rago is a popular Hausa festival. So we're able to cover discussants, Yoruba discussants, Igbo, Edo, Ijo, and even Urobo. So what the interview tested was first language and identity. There were questions to explore how language reflects personality and group identity. It was found that majority of discussants agreed that their indigenous languages reflect who they are. Also, majority of non-Yoruba claim to have had to modify their indigenous languages, especially to avoid trouble at some times, and either to gain something at other moments. All discussants claim that they find it natural to be able to speak English in Lagos. It makes a way for them and their business and their occupation. About whether they feel pressure to speak Yoruba in Lagos, the non-Yorubas are divided. Some, especially the Igbo, feel that they don't have any pressure, they don't need to. They can get around with their English. While some feel that it's necessary, that because it opens doors, it makes way for them. That's so they go out of their way to learn. But some of those who say they stay like 20 years in Lagos, they understand they can't speak. It's them out of interest because they are not interested in the language and they may not also be interested in people. So normally for you to acquire language, interest comes first. So it also tested sense of belonging to assess the relationship between language, ethnic background, and feelings of inclusion. Majority of non-Yoruba in Lagos say they feel a sense of belonging, despite the fact that maybe they don't speak the language or they don't understand it. They feel sense of belonging, they feel at home. And majority of non-Yoruba also affirm they are generally well treated in Lagos, and that their ethnic background do not really affect them much. However, the non-Yoruba believe that the non-Yoruba and the Yoruba believe that Yorubas feel more at home in Lagos, which has Yoruba as the indigenous language. About 10 language access and access to opportunity.
You have 2 more minutes. You have 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes.
Majority agree that speaking the language of where you stay open doors and give you more opportunity. And Yoruba discussant actually says in Lagos, the discrimination should be sent down. That as Yoruba teacher on level 15, you may be made a principal while non-Yoruba that level 17 will be left to the class teacher. Well, at the end of it all, the conclusion, the study, the findings, so through this qualitative interview, reveal that there's a growing assertiveness among Yoruba residents who use language as both persistent tool as a means of integration, while some adopt Yoruba and English strategically to navigate social problems. Others reinforce their ethnic identity through the retention of public use of their mother tongues. On the other hand, power of number at times will overcome power of language. And this was noticed in some local governments in Lagos State, where we have non-Yoruba settlers outnumbering the Yorubas, like Ajeromi Felogun, where we actually have people emerging as vice chairman of local government and people emerging as members of House of Reps. So the study underscored the need for inclusive language policies and community engagement and strategies that recognize Igbo's Lagos complex linguistic ecology. In light of the increasing ethnic plurality and political competition, fostering a truly multicultural urban identity will require acknowledging and valuing the linguistic diversity as a central component of civil belonging. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma, for your presentation. It's now time for us to engage on this intellectual discussion on these topical issues we're looking at. We're looking at identity crisis, as we did even since yesterday. While I have 1 or 2 things to say, let me throw it to the audience. Questions for the presenters. Please mention your name. Yes, I can see you in pink. I can see your hand in pink. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I have 4 questions. Five, okay.
Yeah, just
Okay, my name is
go ahead.
My name is Dr. Soke from Lagos State University. I would like to start with the last presenter. I'm not sure if I really understand what your paper wanted to do, because what you said as your conclusion sort of contradicted some of the statements that you made during your presentation. For instance, you talked about inclusive language policy. It is not clear what you think inclusive language policy will achieve, because in one of your examples, you said Gbadebo Rhodes shot himself in the leg when he said he could not think in Yoruba. And then did you consider and I think you assumed the reason why he said that, because I don't know if he was interviewed for us, but I would have thought that such a statement could have different interpretation. Apparently, they interpreted it to mean he's not interested in Yoruba language. Okay, so that's my question for you, Mrs. Adetola. Okay, so second presenter, I don't understand your use of the term victim to identify. Can you hear me, sir? To identify the people who are supposed to be suspects in your presentation. It's either I didn't capture you well, or I hear you calling them victims instead of suspects. No, can't call them criminals because the law has not judged them. But I don't know why you decided to use the term victim. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, from that end.
Okay.
Yes, the next person, please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amos Mato from University of Jos. I want to comment on the paper by the person that presented on smuggling. Sorry, I can't remember it. So I am very happy that we are beginning to look at issues that are related to our national security, particularly on securing our borders. But then I have some questions that I wish you could gladly share with us. I don't know, were you able to go around all the borders of our country to interact with these law enforcement agencies? And if your answer is yes, can you share with us whether the challenges they are facing is unique or the same? Because most of the time we talk about corruption, but is that really the only problem that is responsible for our borders? Then I don't know if you can also share with us whether you were able to interact with some of these smugglers. Because I am curious to know why people want to cross both illegal and legal borders, like you mentioned in the
Thank you.
I have a question.
Let's
Yes.
next question.
Thank you. My name is Mihima Mulito, and I'm from Oklahoma, Tanzania. I was actually interested with the second presentation. Since you read it, one of the things we're discussing is my name. It's very true that some people means they don't, I mean, they don't spell name as how it's written. Instead, they say Neiman, which of course it destroys the identity of the name, which is great. But despite that, I wanted to ask you a question. I don't know if you've said it. If you've said it, sorry, please repeat for the people of my understanding. Which theory did you use and how do you correlate it to the research?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, still on identity crisis. He said something about youth or young adults texts or books or pictures not being analyzed. That's like the adults texts are better analyzed when it comes to dealing with belonging and the likes. But then I would like to ask, can we pin down to the fact that presently we have this human capital of life, this Japa syndrome in recent time? Can we pin it down to globalization? Because I understand growing up wasn't so traveling out was not, was not the main thing at the time. I mean, I'm talking about the pull and the push factors then and now. Can we pin it down to human capital flight, brain drain, Japa syndrome, and all of that? Can we pin it down to that? I'm trying to look at the faces, from what particular period to a particular period, what particular interval to another particular interval, that we now have such issues. And then how do you mediate in search? Then the other question will go to Mr. Osman, who worked on smuggling. Talking about border insecurity, we have over 200 borders in Nigeria, as far as Nigeria is concerned. But have you tried interacting with the National Boundary Commission so as to realize what we are actually discussing at this point? To realize the nitty-gritty of issues on security, because we have legal and illegal boundaries surrounding Nigeria, the way from east, west, south, and all of that. However, the National Boundary Commission, I do not see the commission as an active commission as regards taking care of security issue. That's one. So did you observe, or did you study observe that in recent time, after the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Zone or Free Trade Area, we have an issue we can pin down to security. But like you said, because we have the opportunity for accessing one country to the other, accessing one country to another because we are Africans, we don't do their documentations, their data. But I know in recent time, talking about the African trade zone, the African trade area, it is not impossible that we also have that aggravating some of our security issues. We try understanding that. I mean, can you trace some of these problems to particular to the establishment of that? Thank you. These are my questions.
Okay, I think let's deal with this first round of questions before we move to the next one. Yes, can the presenters respond to those questions now?
You can have it based on the first presenter.
Yeah, no, they can start. They can start from the way they answer the question.
Okay.
From the way the order at which the questions were asked. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the first question was the theory use. So the analysis of the text, we are not done respect to particular. So I wasn't really using theory to analyze the text, but I still have to understand the theory to understand. So I use Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis to understand their psychological position in young adults, of how it affected themselves, psychology, and the way they imagine, the way they think about things. Because young adults, because of the form of difference, actually give them in a state of imagination and form of imagination where they just kind of imagine different things. Because if you are trying to talk about their past, they are not actually experiencing their past or their own hands. So they are actually living through lived memories or stories that they are telling them. So the only way they can actually relate to their past is through imagination. So I actually use that because psychoanalysis theory for an investigation.
Maybe we can use it too, but
I just do that.
to relate it with the two.
Yes, I just analyze belonging, their historic experiences, identity.
You can just go develop a thought and find a theory that you can use to support your position. That
Like, all kind of theory.
not in the term student. When you said to Paul, I'm a philosophy student, so the aspect of Sigmund Freud that I know, that's why I was trying to pay attention to get what you were saying. You understand? So in your field, there will be an aspect of him that you want to talk to. So it's your paper does not have to start it. You can go and work on it.
And I can really consider the very same cycle of when you talk about the young adults within the church of the team. So that way, I can break down. I think I need to consider. For second question is I don't know answer the question. I don't understand the question.
So I was saying that when you talk about young adults being sidelined, while they prioritize adults in terms of analysis on their spirit, youth, and all that, I was saying that can you actually pin it down to a particular period of pace? It's a recent time you started having this view of human campaign. It's a recent time you started having this view of capacity and all of that. It's not whereby Japa syndrome.
They say in Japan, maybe recent.
Yes.
But the migration is not recent.
We have this surface. That's right. It was maybe graduate. At that time, now we have more of these steps again and all of that coming up, and who wants to just migrate and then want to go and work and get better things like that. It wasn't as much as it is now. There's always been no, I don't agree with that. In the sense that before now, always have people travel but the magnitude wasn't as high as it is from
Sorry, I don't want us to let them escape.
Please, colleagues, let's look at it from this perspective. Yes, the paper is trying to give us an impression. Maybe let me just, because we discussed something of this literally yesterday, that the reason why that in Nigeria today, that Japa syndrome, to me, and we said it yesterday, Japa can no longer be found in the context of migration. Is now found in the context of people, let me just escape. So people do anything, even those people that you said they were smuggled out of the country, it could be even as a result of their own consent, because they want to Japa. Because everybody wants to Japa, they are ready to go to any land. Even if you say want to go and use them for whatever thing, just let me get out of this country. I think that is the issue we must interrogate now, beyond whether we are trafficking people. What is the context of they are taken out? To what extent is it because they offer themselves, take me just anywhere that want to go, just take me out. And I think that is a major issue that we need to address as scholars, to see how far, because we are talking about governance crisis, the crisis of governance yesterday, as a major thing that is causing us, that is reinforcing Japa syndrome in Nigeria these days. So I think we need to take a look at that aspect, rather than thinking that, okay, well, even the people in the boundaries, they are aware of it. They bribe them, they give them money, just let me go, because they themselves want to go. So I think we still need to interrogate this area very well. And as yesterday we were trying to say that, is there no way we can maybe identify, maybe to develop a concept or a theoretical perspective to study migration in the contemporary migration trend in Africa, beyond the general perspective on migration? Yeah. Yes, there's a question that I was asked, because I intended to make comment on that, about the last presenter, about the statement credited to the former Labour Party gubernatorial candidate in Lagos State. There was a question relating to that. Can you please respond to that, ma'am?
Thank you. Before the question, the question of that Madam asked concerning the thinking, that when I was talking about underscoring the need to for inclusive language policy, I think she was saying does it not contradict? No. And because in the present Nigerian language policy, there's a particular statement that says to be compulsory in primary education for children to study the language of the environment. That's what I was trying to link to the aspect of Gbadebo, who started saying, I did not read the Bible, not teach that. That this language policy will be implemented if they are not lost in places. Maybe they will help some situations like that. So children will grow up in this environment, whether they are not Yoruba speakers or not. I think they will be able to understand and speak the language. That's what brought about when I ended by saying the need for language policy more adapted to a multicultural and multi-ethnic society like Lagos.
It appears that I don't know. If you have to make that statement, it seems as if you didn't study, you didn't check. I lived in Lagos for close to 40 years of my life now. All my children schooled in Lagos. I can speak Yoruba. I can think Yoruba if I want to. My children go to Lagos State School and they teach Yoruba there. So that statement, that's what I'm saying. There's something contradictory in what you're saying. If there's a policy like that, I'm Delta, I'm Isoko. In Delta State, they teach Isoko language. So if you are saying that, then that's not a recommendation because it's been implemented. That's what I'm saying.
So it's not been majority of schools.
In
Yes.
Lagos,
Yes, majority of schools.
they don't write unfortunately, I speak Yoruba, my children don't speak that well. But they have to write, my son just finished WAEC. He wrote Yoruba exam. So I'm trying to say that.
Thank you. How many schools have your back up to YHA?
If my children go
Percentage of
no, if they go
have
to a
your back
Lagos State school and Lagos State school implements it, that should be the standard. Because that means the policy is there.
It's there, that's what matters.
And it's been implemented.
No, sorry. Try and very low percentage of schools.
When she's looking at private school angle, okay. So and then you look at it, private school have more ratios than the government school. So but in government schools, yes, I school born and raised in Lagos, I did WAEC, I taught Yoruba. But then for those that are going to private schools, perhaps it will be exempted.
I also know that Lagos State has a policy.
Yes, that's it. Lagos State has a policy, but she's not saying that maybe it's not implemented. If it is implemented, perhaps those private schools might be enforced to go by that. But since they are not enforced to go by that, that's where I won't stand it and perhaps it's not.
Okay, good.
All right, so what to say then?
I think the point she made on language culture means that, and I know that policy states that in primary school children to a certain level should be taught in the language of the environment, not one subject being Yoruba, not one subject being Igbo. The policy states that in the primary school, the language should speak Yoruba. They should be taught in the language of the environment. For instance, in Lagos, the language of this environment is Yoruba. So you are teaching any subject, teach in Yoruba. The atmosphere should be in Yoruba. For instance, if you have a dog now, it is not until a dog in Yoruba is Aja. It is not until a child grows up to know that a dog in Yoruba is Aja. I have a niece that knows how to spell coconut, okay, by just spelling that word in the nursery environment. C-O-C-O, and then she sang the song like that. At a certain stage, that's why I asked her, what, spell coconut. She cannot spell.
That's
So, but it's something that just couldn't understand. Okay, so that's what it is like that. Teach in the language, teach not one subject. That's where the contradiction is.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly respond to the observation. Thank you, madam. When you talk about victims, because smuggling is not a one-way thing. It involves different actors, both the perpetrators. You also have people they are moving with the smuggled persons. We call them they are the victims. Not all of them are informed about what they are going to meet where they are going. People at the location, that is the destination country, when they get there, they find out that it's a different ballgame. That is not what they were. And most of them were deceived. In fact, they were giving false impression of the place. And based on the economic needs, so it's easy to get them. At the end, they will count them as victims. And somebody talked about the African continental free trade. It's a major security concern because across the continent, such an agreement, a free trade agreement, will really weaken the implementation of those border security measures because, of course, in the process of carrying or transporting goods, you know that the way we do things in Africa, if it's a place where we stand our ground, like what you are saying about language, that the right thing should be done, it will be easy. But that security concern is a major threat because presently in Africa, we have a lot of informal activities, and that is the point you were making. I interacted with immigration officers and personnel, and the major concern is this: not just corruption, but that political will, because the smugglers are not more organized than them. You imagine defeating highly organized security operations, but the problem is that political will and determination. People are concerned about the risk of their job. Say, if I go there, something might happen to me. I have a family to protect and provide for. And that is the major concern. This issue of, for instance, Nigeria's border from the north to the south. And then you have the ones in Cameroon and Northeast. These borders, you see that the safest borders are along the southwest, not even the north, not the south, because down there in Cameroon, they have secessionist agitation. So this is a major concern. And there's also a question on, question on National Boundary Commission. Yes, the major concern is that it's not that we don't know where our boundary with other countries is or the communities that exist. We have frontier communities within those areas. But the problem is these communities are caught with they engage with those smugglers. There's this understanding. They know them. Like, let me talk about the Oyo State, Ogun State axis, at by East axis. A lot of smuggling goes on there, and the communities see them. In fact, when you go there, you see a lot of car smugglers. They are on high speed, passing the bushes, yes, and there's no security agency that will be bold to go there. It's not that we don't have the equipment or whatever to confront it, but the problem is this, who will do it, and people will consider the communities to avoid collateral damage and all that. So, in summary, what I'm saying is that except the government sees it as a priority, it's not when they become like what we call Boko Haram today, will now wake up and say that there's a problem. Because smuggle can as well constitute national security. Thank you.
So, okay, so the next set of questions.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. The man in cap.
We
Is
have
it the man or woman in cap?
questions.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm seeing hands. The person in red, let the person in red.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the presenters. The very good one. Engaging is you brought up something that will make us have a straight discussion. First, I'll start with from the first presenter. I understand that it's co-authored well. Trying to work. Okay. Yes, I think I have issues with the first theory you used. Don't know, I'm an historian.
Language contact theory.
Yes. No, the name of the theory.
Fishman.
Fishman, yeah, that's so for Fishman, along the line, when you from the slide, you said at least I understand that okay, the L1 should be important, which is the mother language. I understand, I agree. Everybody will say that that's a policy. Yes, but the truth is these people, this category of people that in this foreign, because these theories, I understand we have I thought necessary and actually foreign. Therefore, the foreign, how would they have this mother language when they are in another territory and the norm is that in the new community, their parents don't speak their indigenous language. It's not having a root in that your work. It's not applicable. That's what I'm trying to say now. You quoted it, you said it, and Freeman said blah blah blah. So of that,
and the condition of that lead to language maintenance or shift. So the concept of domains of use is crucial. Children use heritage language at home.
At home, that's the point.
Dominant language
that's where I'm having an issue now. At home, you and I know for this category of people that were migrated or that were giving birth in that place, they don't use heritage language at home. I don't know if I'm sharing the same opinion with other people. So that's it's shaky. That theory is not standing in that work. That's one. Two, what I've several of my works are doing on migration, so I do so much on migration. So, but then I will look at them. We'll talk about this moving identity and not language. Yes, we understand that migration, the economic factor has led people to go out and all. And they are moving with virtually everything. Their family, their all. As they are moving to the new place, the blessing should be two lingual. They should have their heritage language and the new language. Yes, fantastic. But the question is, the truth is, particularly for this age, for the young professionals that move, they move and get married over there, give birth there. So how would the children in that place now have the heritage language, obviously no. So it's a challenge. So let's look at it from that angle. Thank you.
All right, thank
So, sorry, I need to make a caution. We should be considering the time. It's
Glasses.
almost, and so if you're asking your question, be fast about it.
Yes, the man at the back, the man in glasses.
Okay,
The man in glasses at the back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My hand has been talked to.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Yes, I want to speak to the second presenter. You said your paper is on young adult children. I want to actually get clarification. If I was prepared, I want to clarify, is it young adults that grew up in Nigeria or were born overseas? But there are different categories of migrants. We have because for Christian migrants and because that kind is different kind of migrant. For me, that will travel there and spend 5 years. So that it is not just are there specifications that the categories of migrants that are being talked about? I think that clarification to be talked about. If you say all young adult migrants have that same problem, no, the presentations I think make that research. I'm not seeing your research. And basically, I would like a copy of paper on this portal. All right, the second one, I want to know the smuggling researcher, the one that smuggled, the root of smuggling right there. Language is very funny. Language is funny, sir. Sorry. What kind of research do you do, sir? Is it the qualitative or quantitative? Yes, okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
Yes, next.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, my sister, go ahead.
All right, my name is Dr. Bola from the University of Medical Science. But from historical perspective, the question goes to the last that you quoted a quote from a particular aspirant, governorship aspirant. Number one question, I want to know if you actually, because social media are funny sometimes. You get some, if you say something like this, you get something. I want to know if you actually interviewed the person. If no, please, for objectivity's sake, you need to interview, clarify, and actually know the stand of that person.
Thank you very much. My question is to Dr. James.
Okay.
I'm a little bit familiar with the border community.
Oh, thank you.
And I know that there's almost no way you can talk about border governance. I understand you're speaking about this from the place of physical security. Probably you're focused on that.
Yeah.
But I think that the security personnel themselves are complicit in these issues of governance. If you are familiar with the SEME, Idiroko, it is actually like a syndicate of some sorts, involving security personnel, community members, smugglers, and different categories. In fact, in SEME, you have alternative security that work hand in hand with the state security. So you cannot speak about the ills or the problems of border governance and not talk about how like you said, the political will and even the will of the security personnel themselves. How willing are they to even solve this problem? Because they are part of the problem, they are creating the problems and they are benefiting from the problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Fayowa Adie, University of Lagos, and I'm a historian. Actually, scholars here have already asked from the pantheons of questions I have. So I will not go there. But my question is going to be narrowed down to the last, to Dr. James. So I'm going to ask him questions, just 3 questions. So, well, I'll take the first question from your title and your delivery.
Okay.
Say countering the smuggling of migrants. So I want to ask the question: are you in the mood to discuss something like predatory crime? Because the other time when we were explaining, you said smuggling or countering issue of smuggling is not. There are several actors.
Yes.
What you are countering actually is the smuggling, not the migrants themselves. So we are discussing predatory crime. It has to do with illegal migration and as well as human trafficking. That's my first question. The second question is a corollary of, and like you are doing a research in a state of flux. Like you are not doing a research, but if you land back them, it will give your listeners and your readers a clear understanding of the period that you are actually doing your research.
Thank you. All right, sir. To your questions, the interview I did actually, clearly about this Nigerian migrants, most of the response, most cases, all of them they try to preserve Nigerian language. Because there's no other opportunity. For instance, let's just look at the Nigerian Igbos when they come to Southwest. I think one of the ways their children learn their language is when they speak it at home. Cultural preservation. I don't know if I understand your question. Even I want to do even the same thing with Hausa. Speaking it at home. That is fundamental. Because they are not in the original environment.
What should be? But it's not what is ideal.
Anyway, yeah.
And they are not.
You know, that's why we recommended, because we are in the digital age, that's why we recommended that we should use the digital platform mostly necessarily to express our language. For instance, I gave an example of some subject being taught now in Yoruba. We have science in Yoruba by Dr. Adebayo. Arujile explained that. There's one on biology, there's one mathematics, chemistry. Can use all those things to at least and this generation they relate more with digital content. This is one of the way out. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much for the question. The citation I did not think Yoruba. I did not speak Yoruba. It's not a social media publication at all. It was an interview that was granted to Badebo Bible itself by China's television on the 9th of March 2023. And he also gave the same response on an interview on Arise television. So it's a very popular social media. She even went on to defend itself by saying something like it's called in MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology University. Schooled in France, is schooled in UK, and is trying to justify not being fluent in Yoruba, that exposure to all those places maybe are rubbed off fluent in Yoruba language. So it's a reality, not a social media consideration.
But sorry, I want to ask, must somebody speak Yoruba to be a perfectly?
No, we don't. Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for your
I think we lost the chair. So, but maybe I'll give yours just 5 minutes. Our time is up for.
All right.
I'll just give 5 minutes. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Animashan. Am I correct? Yes. Thank you. I noted your observation. That's good. And also, Doc, thank you from the Department of History. Thank you. I've noted your points. And every other comments have taken note.
I think it's back. All right, so thank you everyone for attending. We still have another one tomorrow. Please join us. We have